ආයුබෝවන් අති ගෞරවනීය පූජනීය මහා සංඝරත්නයන් අවසරයි most venerable Maha Sangha, distinguished religious leaders, ladies, gentlemen and children. Welcome you all to online Buddhist Summit 2020 via Zoom and Buddhist Embassy YouTube channel. The theme for the Buddhist Summit 2020 is What the Buddha Taught. I am Visita Leelaratna. On behalf of the members of the Buddhist Embassy, I extend a warm welcome to you all. We appreciate you are taking time out from your busy schedules to join us today. I would like to invite today's co-host, Mr. Lalit Ananda Gunaratna, Honorable Secretary of Vesak in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Visita. Venerable Bhikku and Bhikkuni, I'd like to now welcome Venerable Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña and Venerable Bhikkuni Bodhicitta Theri to this interesting conversation we are going to have today. As we all know, we are in the middle of a very unprecedented time with COVID. It is essentially an ecological response to a biological response to an ecological problem that us human beings have created in a consumerist world which has gone after material wealth and profit and greed. And we are seeing now the results of this, and it is as if the universe gave us a message to stop everything from happening. So we have then the celebration of the material world, which is where success is measured by money and profits and wealth one accumulates, material wealth one accumulates, versus another kind of success that we have and we see very clearly in being able to cultivate our minds and to understand our oneness with nature. So in that context, our theme is going to be around how these monks live a life through the Sila, through the Dhamma. So I like to first of all introduce the two monks that we have here today, venerable monks. Venerable Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña, Staten Island's Buddhist Vihara from New York. He's a renowned meditation teacher with over 50 years of experience and an international lecturer. Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña has actively participated with other Nayaka Theras from New York, Long Island, Maryland, New Jersey, and other monks from around the world on the Samasta Dhamma Sabha Mandala. And they have also participated on the online Vesak and Posum programs of the Buddhist Embassy. And we also have Venerable Bhikkuni Bodhicitta Theri, founder of the Nisala Arana International Center for Inner Peace and Happiness in Melbourne, Australia, and Sri Lanka. Venerable Bodhicitta Theri also is a renowned meditation teacher with years of experience and international lecturer and author. And Bhikkuni Bodhicitta Theri has given 3 talks already to the Buddhist Embassy since April 2020, including Buddhism and technology. The format is going to be, I'm going to ask 2 questions. The first question is going to be asked from Heenbunne Bante, and we're going to give 10 minutes each, and the second question will be to Bodhicitta Bhikkhuni, and the answers will be 10 minutes each. And then for closing remarks, based on the discussion, I will formulate a question for, and it will be a free flow of ideas and thoughts that can come from the Bhikkhuni as well as then Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña. We are also mindful of the fact that Bhikkuni Bodhicitta Theri has to leave this session for another session. So we are going to then have the privilege of listening to Heenbunne Kondañña from here. So the first question that I'd like to ask from Heenbunne Kondañña is, based on what the Buddha taught, Bhikkhu and Bhikkhunis face many challenges, problems and issues and temptations and responsibilities in modern society. As I said, in a society that tempts us with all these material goods, the challenge is how do we renounce that? So it may hinder the ability to advance the Dhamma effectively to society. In this open discussion today, what we really like to understand is how a bhikkhu and bhikkhunis, how do you face these challenges and overcome these challenges, and what kind of a practice that you would like to discuss and present to us. So Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña Thera, you have 10 minutes.
Everyone Saranai. So good, very happy. Thank you very much for Buddhist Embassy organizing this event or discussion, just to share our thoughts, share our experiences. Basically, when I hear the question, we have to go back to what Buddhahamdru taught us. Of course, that is based on that our discussion goes on. This is basically, if you look at it, it is how does the Dhamma Dutta activity is done. What are the challenges? If I just translate to my language, Dhamma Dutta work is done, and what are the challenges we have? Basically, this is what's the basic idea about this question is. Let's see what Buddhahamdru, how did he do that very initially? When he came to after his first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, when number of Arahant came to number 60, then he dispatched them to various directions to teach the Dhamma. He encouraged go monks and teach the Dhamma, which brings peace and happiness to all, to human beings as well as even to devas. Teach the Dhamma clear at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. So very basic advice he gave. I think that advice is still valid for today too. Monks, so with qualified monks, in the sense what I mean is, we should know Dhamma, and we should be practicing Dhamma, and then we should be going out of compassion, thinking that we should share this Dhamma with the other beings who does not know it. Because when you look at it, Buddhahamdru did not teach the Dhamma to Buddhists. At the very beginning, he just spoke to the people who were there at the time, and whoever pleased with that, they accepted it. When they were happy hearing this, his teaching, so they themselves, started saying, Bhante, from today onward until my end of my life, may please accept me as your student, your follower, or follower of the Dhamma. So that is how confirmation came from them. Buddhahamdru did not put a label on anybody, and he did not call him, just share what he knew, the truth of the world. Truth is not different from, there's no two things, but he encouraged, this is what I have seen. If you do this, this would be the result. If you do this, this would be the result. So having said that, so he pointed the path. Walking on the path is the listener or the participant, whoever was there, that's their business. So they once they saw this is very meaningful, there's something that we can carry on in our lives. So they were very pleased with that, and they became the follower of. So I believe today in the modern world too, leaving behind our homeland and we came over to the other countries. So when we come to these other countries, other places, we should have the very same attitude, not to convert people, but to share the Dhamma. If they are ready, they would accept it. We should have, our attitudes should be very friendly attitude. With that, if we go, I believe we can accept these challenges, and we can overcome the challenges whatever we have. So it is not easy, but I believe we can do sharing nicely, equally, and very friendly manner. People, depending on our attitude, people will accept it. So they have a choice. So Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis who are outside in the world, I believe all of us have challenge. Of course, challenges are there, but first, my thought is that we should have that qualification of going out and teaching. But the problem is that we believe in Sri Lanka, where we left from, so we need more and more qualified practitioners to share this Dhamma with the people in the world or in the country over there too. So as an opening, I would like to just briefly mention this, and I will be joining as is roll it up in the next few minutes after our Bhikkhuni presented her presentation.
Sadhu, sadhu, Irwan Sarnai, Heenbunne, Bante. Bodhicitta Bhikkhuni, you are one of the few Bhikkhunis that are out there inspiring us with the Dhamma. So, along with that question that was addressed by Heenbunne Bhikkhu also, what is your view on the revival of the Theravada Bhikkuni Sanga?
Theravada Saranai. First, I would like to pay my respect to Maha Sangha, and with their permission, may I speak a few words. Maha Sangharatning Avasarai. So, first, I would also like to thank Buddhist Embassy, especially Mr. Visita Leelaratna, for inviting me to join this discussion. Thank you very much. Honored to be here today. So the question is about the revival of the Bhikkhuni order. We know it's from Bhikkhuni Mahaprajapati Gautami Arahat Theri that this lineage started. And then Venerable Sanghamitta Arahat Theri took that order to Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, the Bhikkhuni order started then. Then, when they were going through hardships, the Bhikkhunis saw that and they thought it's best to take this Bhikkhuni order and plant seeds outside Sri Lanka as well. So if there's any danger in Sri Lanka, any hardships that come that can destroy the Sangha, so it can revive in somewhere else. So they did a very wise thing. What they did, also at the same time, there was this invitation from China. A Chinese king invited the nuns from Sri Lanka, the Bhikkhunis, to come and start the Bhikkhuni order in China, because they had Buddhism there, but they really wanted to perform the proper Vinaya karma and establish a proper Bhikkhuni order in China. They had nuns, but they wanted to make them properly, fully ordained Bhikkhunis. So they wanted to get this from India or Sri Lanka. So the invitation was accepted by the Sri Lankan king at that time, I think King Mahanama, and don't quote me on that, but that the king at that time accepted it, and this event took place about 430 century at that time. So a bhikkhuni called Devasara then had traveled to China with about 8 other bhikkhunis. So they went in a ship merchant called the Nandi. And at that time, the sailing on the sea is about like life and death situation, because there were a lot of sea pirates and not many people were really brave enough to even go abroad by the ship. But these bhikkhunis were very brave. They actually traveled the seas and safely arrived in China. And then they went into this Nanking temple in China. This first ordination was done in Nanking. When the 8 bhikkhunis arrived there, the head monk over there had said, I think it's better to have at least about 10 nuns, 10 bhikkhunis to make this proper ordination. Even though in the Vinaya it says it's only 5 nuns needed, but for some reason, the head nun has requested, head monk had requested, I think it's better to have more nuns. So they requested more nuns to come from Sri Lanka. So a second troop came from Sri Lanka again. So they just had to wait there and until the second group came in. You know, it's not like flying just within hours. So it had taken again another, I think, few years for the other batch to arrive there, to get there. So during that time, the bhikkhunis who went there with the master Devasara, they have even learned Chinese and they have established good communication and good friendship with these Chinese monks and the nuns. And then when the second group of people came, in the Island of Light book written by Brother Lee, it says 429th century, but this event was recorded actually in our historical chronicles in a book written by Professor Siripada Leelaratna, in the chapter where it's called the Leelaratna Anusmriti, for the Leelaratna memorial book, I think, written to for his memorial. An article written by Professor Hao Weimin called Chinedi Madutu Ape Gurutuma, means the teacher I saw while in China. while in China, How I Saw My Teacher, or similar to that. In Sinhalese it says Chinedi Madhutu Ape Gurutuma. Under that topic, he had written, it had taken place around 432 to 433 during that century. Anyway, so it tells us it had taken place, this first ordination, around 430 century. About 300 bhikkhunis were ordained then by the Theravada Bhikkhunis and bhikkhus. So after that, that lineage had continued. There was speculation whether that lineage was continuous or not, or what. In recent times, I'm also very happy to hear that the professor who did research on this is actually this our brother Visita Leelaratna's one of the uncles, called the Professor Siripada Leelaratna. So he actually had gone there with this Professor Hao Weimin, who is also a Chinese professor, with him to this particular place where this ordination took place so long ago, and to check what's happening in there. And for their amazement, still the temples are there and the bhikkhunis are there. So they have recorded their experience. This was supported by a university. You should read that article written by Professor Hao Weimin about their experience. So this is already written, anyone can find out. So they have gone to this Yunnan state, the province in China. In that, they find that Theravada Buddhism is still alive. And in that Sangsua area, they found these bhikkhunis in this Amen hill. In that hill, they have found this Bhikkuni Vihara, or the temple, and it's called Wang Kang. And they have met Venerable Lung Ling Bhikkhuni. So she was the headmaster at that time. So this Professor Hao Weimin talks about how happy that Bhikkhuni was to see this Theravada representatives from Sri Lanka, and how it's strengthening the ties between Sri Lanka and China. And she had actually really respected them and honored them, and shown them around, and also gave them a written calligraphy about this historical event that happened again. So this was one of the very, very interesting findings that I found, that was very interesting, because so it gives us evidence that still that Bhikkhuni lineage is alive, and they have found out from them that that lineage is not broken and it's still alive in that area. And from that area, it has been taken to other parts of the world, like to Taiwan, Korea, and to many other countries. And we still find Theravada Bhikkhunis in those orders. Now the question is, in these countries, the majority are Mahayana Buddhist. So, but in Mahayana Buddhist, they have these Bhikkhunis. So the people who say there is no Theravada Bhikkhuni, is that their argument is that these Bhikkhunis in China, in Korea, Taiwan is Mahayana order. So they are not Theravada. So therefore, the Theravada lineage had died down in Sri Lanka. So therefore, we cannot revive the Theravada Bhikkhuni order. But the point is, it is the Sri Lankan Theravada nuns had gone into these Mahayana countries and had established the Bhikkhuni order according to the Theravada Vinaya Karma. This is the important point. There had been no Mahayana Vinaya Karma, but according to the Theravada Buddhist Vinaya Karma, the Theravada Buddhist Bhikkhunis had ordained them. So they are actually Theravada Bhikkhunis, even though they were practicing the Mahayana practices or learning that, but their ordination, the Vinaya Karma, was Theravada. In accordance with the Theravada Vinaya Karma, it was Theravada Vinaya Karma. So they found this out recently. A lot of people did research into this. Ajahn Sujato, I think Ajahn Brahm, and in Sri Lanka, Bhikkhuni Kusuma, she had done a PhD on this, trying to find the roots of whether this Bhikkhuni order can be revived. Is it still alive? So they found out, yes, it is alive, even though it was dead in Sri Lanka. But the seeds that were planted from Sri Lanka in other parts of the world, in China, is still alive. So we can bring back that order again back to Sri Lanka. So in the recent event that we know took place in 1996 in Saranath in India. I think about 10 Bhikkhunis, it was in December, and about, from my memory, about 10 Bhikkhunis, including Bhikkhuni Kusuma, was ordained by the invitation of the Mahasangha, that who really was working hard to establish this Bhikkhuni Sanga again. And then they were trained there for about, I think, 1 year, and then they went into Sri Lanka, went back to Sri Lanka, and they started their order in Dambulla. I think Dambulle Inamalwe Sumangala Thero, he supported and he set up a Bhikkhuni training center and started the Bhikkhuni ordinations in Sri Lanka. So this is the recent event we know, and then someone actually challenged that event. What happened in 1996? Then again, there was a second ordination in 1998 in India. Even for that, Bhikkhuni Kusuma went again. And there was other monks, there was this other Bhikkhunis from other countries, and Sri Lankan Theravada monks presented in that Bhikkhuni ordination ceremony. So whoever challenged it before, saying it wasn't valid, those reasons were kind of demolished by the second ordination. And then again, second set of nuns were trained and brought back to Sri Lanka. And again, you know, they also started ordaining other nuns, and the Bhikkhuni lineage was established in Sri Lanka. Recently, when someone asked this question from me while I was in Sri Lanka last year, I actually thought it's good to actually do a research into the history. So I wanted to meet one of the nuns who were in that first ordination. When I went to meet that nun, she said a very interesting story. She said, I was ordained, I was given a higher ordination in America 30 years ago. So there is an ordination that we didn't know that had taken place in the history about 30 years ago in America. It's about 500 Bhikkhunis from all around the world. It was organized by a I forgot. I have written this information, but I couldn't find that piece of paper. From my memory, a Sri Lankan monk who were living at that time had got involved. Maybe Bante Kondañña can correct me. From my memory, that name is, I think, Venerable Ratanasara or something like that. But don't quote me on that. So that Sri Lankan monk also had got involved in this, and he had invited 10 bhikkhunis from Sri Lanka to participate in this group bhikkhuni ordination, which they had other bhikkhunis coming from all over the place, and it has been a mass ordination. Then from that 10 bhikkhunis who have participated in that ordination, so up to today, there is a few surviving in Sri Lanka, but during that time when they come back to Sri Lanka, this is about 30, 40 years ago, they were really challenged by the system and had said there is no bhikkhunis, blah, blah, blah. So some of them actually didn't feel like they were bhikkhunis, like they were not too sure and they couldn't face the challenges, but they have not renounced. So this is the question. They have not renounced their bhikkhuni ordination, but they have stayed as nuns in their aramas and they have continued with their normal day-to-day work. And now that when I found out about this, I met that nun. She's, I think, in her 80s. She also don't know how many still are surviving in Sri Lanka from that first ordination, about this 30, 40 years ago. But she said, I'm still a bhikkhuni from that ordination and I have not renounced. And that's my story. And she showed the photos of that ordination. And I'm sorry that I couldn't find out the information that I wrote down, who was involved in that. And the temple, I think it was a temple in LA, a Mahayana, huge temple from the photos I saw. But this information we can find out. A lot of you who are in states can dig into this information and find out. So there had been attempts to revive the bhikkhuni order a few times. So anyway, now it is very strong in Sri Lanka. Now the bhikkhunis face the challenges, like they are not shaken, they face them, but they continue to be as bhikkhunis and they do their things and the services and all that. And I think at the moment, in the Sri Lankan government had not established the fact that legally, so the bhikkhunis had filed a case, I think, that they need an ID as recognizing them as a bhikkhuni, because after they have become a bhikkhuni, apparently they haven't got an ID. So as a citizen in that country, they should have an ID. So they have asked for that. And I heard there is a court case, and I heard the because I know the person who was handling that case, that lady had told they are eligible to get that and the country should recognize them. But the only problem they had was some monks were opposing that. So she told me she had personally spoken to these monks and said, well, Venerable, you know, there is no case here. You don't have a case. They are Sri Lankan citizens and they are allowed to have this. So I'm going to approve this. I want you to back off and please don't oppose this, because I don't like to override you and say that. I don't want to do that. But in my job, in my capacity, there is no reason to reject this appeal. So I have to do it. So please help me by not really challenging this. So I don't know what the current situation is there, but I know whoever was handling that court case was very strong on approving bhikkhunis to give the ID cards because that they are eligible for that. So there is a problem in that area whether the government will recognize this or not. But the fact is, whether the government recognizes or not, that's a different thing. But there is a established Bhikkhuni order there from a valid Bhikkhuni ordination. So no one can challenge that. If we research onto this, we can see that the live lineage has continued throughout, from the time that the Venerable Devasara took it to China. It's being alive, and now we have brought it back to Sri Lanka. So no one can say it is not Theravada, it is not continued. To me, how I see this is like this: like we have taken a papaya seed from Sri Lanka and planted in China, but unfortunately the Chinese had started to call it like guava. And then now when we wanted to have a papaya tree, because it's no longer in Sri Lanka, so it was extinct, so we want to find the papaya tree, and we found out that, oh, our ancestors went and planted these seeds in China. So they went there and had a look. Oh yeah, our papaya tree is there, but they call it guava. But that's not a problem for us. We know it's a papaya tree. So they brought back the seeds again to Sri Lanka. So it's like that. Even though someone says, even though they call this is Mahayana Bhikkhunis who have ordained Theravada Bhikkhunis, but to begin with, there is no Mahayana Bhikkhunis. They were Theravada Bhikkhunis. It is a Theravada Bhikkhunis who have given the Theravada ordination to this Mahayana nuns. Mahayana means it's their belief system, what they study. But this Vinaya Karma was Theravada. So to begin with, there is no Mahayana Bhikkhunis, but they are Theravada Bhikkhunis. So what we have brought back is from the Theravada Bhikkhuni order lineage. So to me, it looks like, you know, it is valid, and the Bhikkhunis are there in Sri Lanka. Hopefully, when a lot of people do a lot of research into this, and I'm sure people will get enlightened to this. And one day, hopefully, the head monks, the monks in hierarchy, will support this, and the government will establish this, because I think it's our duty to recognize the nuns and allow them to come into the order, so they also can do their part into the sasana, because the Buddha established Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. So who, if there is no Bhikkhunis, that means there's only threefold assembled here: Bhikkhu and Upasaka and Upasika. So who we call today Dasasil Mata, it goes into that category, Upasikava. So it's just the white cloth had been changed to the orange, but it's still recognized as Upasika because they are not in the order. So it's very important that we establish the fourfold assembly like Buddha wished. Buddha wished to have Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. That's what his wish was. Like when Mara was asking Lord Buddha to pass away, as soon as he got enlightened, the Mara went and said, well, now you have got enlightened, you can pass away. But Lord Buddha replied and said, no, not yet. I'm going to establish Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika, this fourfold assembly, and then I am going to help them to be able to stand up on their own, be able to free themselves from suffering, and also be able to, for them to be able to help others, be able to break any arguments that's put forward from another sect or other belief. As long as, you know, these people are strong to establish this pure Dhamma in that pure form, I will not pass away. Only when my children are strong in their practice and be able to help others, then I will pass away. So Buddha gave this reply to Mara after he got enlightened. So he had in his mind to establish the fourfold assembly. So it's our duty to maintain this. When there is a missing part into this. Now, when there is a table, you need 4 legs for the table to be stable. When one leg is missing, we can't use that table. it becomes useless. You can't use it. So the Sasana also like that. This fourfold assembly is a measurement as to check the society as to how the society is functioning. Like, Mahatma Gandhi says, how you treat animals, you can tell how that country is running by how they treat their animals. So it's a gauge to know how loving the people are, how kind the people are, how compassionate the people are. So he says you can gauge a country, you can know the people in that country by looking at how they treat the animals. So this fourfold assembly is also a gauge to gauge how balanced is a society. In a society, normally always it's a male dominant. This is a male dominant society, even at Buddha's time. So what happens? The people who have the most power tend to crush the weak ones, or tend to use the weak ones for their own benefit. This is how the animal world runs. When people are not really developed, when we have lower qualities, lower mindset, when we are undeveloped, we tend to use others for one's own benefit. So the more the weaker, it becomes a prey to the strong ones. But what Buddha did, Buddha showed that the real strength, the real development is being able to help the weak, being able to raise the weak to a strong position. So that's what Buddha pointed out. And Buddha helped us to develop ourselves to that state. So this is the gauge. So Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni means the men and women are treated equally in that society. So when there is no Bhikkhuni means there's imbalance. The men are not treating women in the same way. It is the Lord Buddha in all religions. If you see, the only religious leader who gave liberation to the women, who raised up the women's status, is Lord Buddha, because he saw that it need to be done. We all equal, not physically and psychologically, but we all suffer, and equally we all can develop our mind and free ourselves from suffering. We all can raise our humanness. So Buddha helped us to develop ourselves. The point of the Dhamma is very straightforward. It is a mechanism for people to advance, for us to civilize, for us to develop good human qualities and rise above even the normal human status. Even we can live like gods, or even we can go up above the gods. Our teacher, Buddha, is also the teacher. You will find who you see as Buddhist nuns are 10 preceptors, Dasa Sil Mata.
Yeah, I followed that in your talk just now.
Yeah, but very rarely you find the nuns, the Dasa Sil Matas, or the women being accepted into the higher order, into the real Sangha order.
So
To
what
be a
you mean?
member of the Sangha.
Sorry to interrupt. What you mean is that there is no Bhikkhuni Sasana in Sri Lanka. Is that what you mean?
No, now they have established again. 30, 40
now
years
meaning,
ago, and a recent one in 1996.
Yeah, but now meaning when?
I told you, 1996, it has been revived, restarted there. And before 1996, there is an event about 30, 40 years ago in America. They have ordained 10 bhikkhunis from Sri Lanka, which we need to research and find out.
But isn't so that, I think the venerable monk from New York might be able to pass some light on that, because I thought to establish a Bhikkhuni sect, there are certain conditions. I mean, otherwise every country can pick up and, and establish Bhikkhuni sects. That I don't know. Actually, I don't know that part of the thing. I know only the Dhamma part of this whole thing.
Vinaya, in Vinaya, it says to become a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, you need to perform the Vinaya karma. To do that, you need, for bhikkhuni ordination, you need 5 bhikkhunis and 5 bhikkhus.
Right. Right. But the
As
5
long as
bhikkhus
that
and
is being
bhikkhunis are
established
who have...
and the other conditions being established, the Mahasangha can ordain a woman as a bhikkhuni.
So was that condition there in the United States, that there was a Mahasangha, there was 5 bhikkhus who had the Upasampada, and there were 5 bhikkhunis who had the Upasampada, and there was a Mahasangha who were able to set this up?
Can I take a pause? So
We need to go into the history, and I will leave it as homework for you to find out, because
I think the venerable monk from New York, who's a monk, might have more answers to this.
Let me jump in here.
This is a seminar. This is a seminar, so this is like a, where you can exchange. It's not like somebody speaks and then you listen and, I think these are better way of exchanging ideas.
Sure. So Venerable Heenbunne Kondañña, then please address.
This, I cannot remember the year, but it took place where the monks involved in that was Venerable Hao Weimin and also Venerable Walpola Piyananda in Los Angeles, Dharmajaya Buddhist Vihara. I do not know the year, but I believe it must have happened in Chinese temple, what is called Shilai temple.
That's right.
Shilai temple in Los Angeles.
I see. So it was recognized by the Sri Lankan Mahasangha in Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka, if they accepted or not, but these monks, they decided to have it because I believe that was the time where they had a conference. At that conference time, they invited these bhikkhunis also, they came and they must have done, I was not there at the time, but I know they have done something in that nature.
I must also say, Venerable Bodhicitta, I know you have another engagement, so sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for enlightening us on the history.
Sorry to interrupt, Lalit, sorry to interrupt. Can you give her the last comments at least to close her off?
No, Venerable Bodhicitta has to unfortunately leave us because she has another commitment. So
I see.
Continue this conversation. Perhaps you can continue this conversation with Venerable Bodhicitta directly.
We can have another webinar set up again soon, so you can join and without the time pressure, because I have another Dhamma talk to give at a UN organization happening here soon. So I'm sorry, I have to leave. We will meet again. I'm sure Brother Leelaratna will arrange another conference so we can actually discuss in more depth.
Yes, we will organize it. Thank you.
Okay.
So now I'd like to invite Venerable Heenbunne Kondañña. We have another about 15 minutes or so to hear from you some thoughts based on the conversation we've already had, presentation, as well some of the practical practices, especially in a time like COVID, some of the practical practices that us lay people can also practice to stay grounded, perhaps might be also just a few thoughts.
Yeah, there are a lot of things to now opened up. So Bhikkhuni order thing, let's discuss another time. So for now, as a Dharma Duta, I was telling that Dharma Duta is the work that we all have to do. So in my understanding, we all are Dharma Dutas who from Sri Lanka, especially monks, of course, they belong to in that category. Nuns belong, Bhikkhunis belong to in that category. And also as Buddhist lay devotees like you and ladies, everybody. Why I'm saying that is, we know I have somebody who came here, one Italian American gentleman, once he came, observing the behavior and work style of a young man, he wanted to come to temple and see what kind of religion is he practicing. Then we had a conversation. We sat down and had a conversation. Then he said, I always rely on this young man. So he was always very peaceful. Whatever I said, if he said the time, he come on time. And he, very confidently, I did not have to get involved. Once I assigned him something, he did it very nicely. See, now what I see in that is that's a behavior. When you are living in Dhamma, that opens up somebody's mind. Wow, this man is so peaceful. This woman is so peaceful. What kind of religion are they practicing? So they, looking at, observing your behavior, they start searching for it. They start looking for the Dhamma that we are practicing. See, in that sense, you are also a Dharmaduta. So as monks, or the Bhikkhunis or the Bhikkhus who are living in the outside of Sri Lanka, definitely we have, once we have this training, what we have, understand language skill when you have it, and also when you are able to, understanding of the culture also very important. Otherwise, what happened very early days when we monks come, we think, wow, we are the Buddhahamara never taught about these things. Buddhahamara was so great teacher. With that attitude, if we come, nobody would want to accept it. We are just pushing away the people who are even to like, because who come and ask questions about it. If we arrogantly try to present it, that would never happen. Remember what we have, these people in this part of the world, people are not ready yet. These are, in these countries, when you look around, it's a pleasure world. Sensual pleasure is, filled, so they are indulging it. So can we stop them? No. Can we ask them to stop? No. For example, I always used to say, from the Buddha, after Buddha got his enlightenment, he decided to teach. Then he was going on his way to Varanasi. He met a man in front of him, and this man, whose name was Upaka, I think you remember that story, and he was very pleased seeing the Buddha, very serene, very peaceful appearance, and he wanted to know, what are you called? Who's your teacher? You are very pleasant, very amicable appearance. So when he said that, then Buddhahamara said, I'm called Ananta Jina. I do not have a teacher. So I realized this, therefore, Jina means that the person who victorious. He defeated all the defilement and became the Buddha, the enlightened one. So therefore he was called Jina, or then Ananta Jina. When this young man heard this, what he did was, he nodded his head and he continued his journey. He was on his way to, with some thought in his mind, he was going, okay, it could be so, and he continued his journey. He did not stop. Even though he met the Buddha, he didn't have that opportunity to learn something from him in practice. Maybe he was not fortunate enough. He was not meritorious enough to receive something from him very valuable, very precious. However, when I look at this, Western world, people, they are seeing things, they are indulging things, there are all these, luxuries are around. So therefore, they are in that process of engaged in these, luxuries and, enjoying their life. They are not ready yet. But we, as Dharmadutas, very patiently, very friendly, we have to still share this, sharing, and by sharing the level that they can, gain it. So that is if we have understanding, definitely, when we have that understanding very compassionately, we must have a lot of patience to share this Dharma once, the time like this, COVID. I remember there are 4 times in my small history in New York, the people were shaken by. First one, I cannot remember, is that the first one? 9/11, that Asian tsunami. There was what do you call this? Loss of electricity at one point in 1990s or 80s, I can't remember, maybe 90s. So all these 3 times, people were shaken by it. This was the first time. 4th time is this pandemic. Everybody was shaken by this. And then they started seeing the destructive nature and the uncertainty of this life. If life is this uncertain, they start thinking about it. And all these times, people start searching for something meaningful. So they were talking to monks, they were asking questions, wanted to learn more. Before that, when we were on the subway or the buses, they were just looking at, casting a look at us, it's very unpleasant, very painful sometimes. But after these incidents, people became more aware of the teachings of the Buddha. They start searching for it. They start searching for meditation centers. So they start, practicing it. So that is how this Buddhism came to a little bit of, stronger in this part, especially in these big cities. They open up is for the teachings of the Buddha. So I think for what we need now is more qualified teachers, more qualified, skillful teachers. So for that, we have to have monks training, well-trained monks in Sri Lanka. Not because they want to come to, sometimes maybe when young monks hear about this, wow, America, so we can go there. That may not work. Because when you are coming with the picture of America as a huge and country, but they have never experienced it. Once they come here, they will be very unhappy too. Because at the very beginning part, it's not, I always, whoever wants to come here, I always used to explain it to them, this is what it is, you will be very unhappy after coming here, but you have to prepare well-prepared mind for this. One is that you are coming from the place where always friends are around and people who meet with you every day, and you have opportunity to talk to them. But when you come to America or the other countries, you may have to sit in the temple, your room, or you may not see even one single person a day. Maybe only one person may be stopping by. So for that, you must be prepared. So that's also, they have to have a lot of courage, and you must be able to do all the work by yourself, and from morning to the evening. So therefore, Dhammadutta service has so much to dedicate. Other, person who, if we are not well prepared in your mind, if you come here, you get really frustrated and you will be very unhappy. And you will be asking, why did I come here? What a beautiful life I had. What I was doing, I was working as a teacher. At least I was teaching, young children something that I knew. But now I'm sitting here in my room by myself without providing any service. Yeah. If very early part of your life, until you get used to the place, until you get used to the environment, that is how everybody's life is. So definitely you have to have so much courage and so much of patience, so much of preparedness to come here and get involved in these Dhammadutta activities. So I would leave time for you to ask questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free. So Dhammadut activity is not an easy activity. It's hard work. So in one sense, all of us are lay as clergy. All of us are Dhammadutas in this part of the world. So your behavior, my behavior, would be enlightening, attracting more people into the practice. So we all can do it, do this service. Remember that.
So we have time for perhaps 2 questions. We have about 10 to 12 minutes left. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I would like to ask a question from Most Venerable Heenbunne Kondañña Thera. What type of solutions that we could use to teach English and computers? For example, the issues would come if we give the computers to the younger monks. If they come across something not suitable, can they use their meditation to bring their mind back, like a drawing on a piece of paper? Or do we need to restrict with Nayaka terrors or supervision through a computer lab with CCTV cameras, or some type of a training like monks from like age 12 to 18 range, giving smartphones, for example? What it would be the solutions, as well as teaching English and languages like Chinese, using distance learning, and requesting the volunteers throughout the world that we have a large number of Sri Lankans and others might talk to them half an hour to improve their English and Dhamma. Thank you, Bhante.
Yes, actually, for young monks, we may have to speak to them, or the chief monk, if he understand about that, good teacher. We need a good teacher to inspire these young monks to learn, encourage them to. Otherwise, if they just, if the computers are just sitting in the temple, it's not going to do any good. So therefore, we have to put them into use and encourage them to learn. And they have to share with them what they can do with that understanding, that knowledge. What could they use? What could they do with the computers? How successfully you can do a better service for the sasana. How as an individual, for those young monks, if they really want to go study and improve their understanding, how they can use this. On computers are only tools, so how they can use it to do the research. Likewise, if we have someone to explain, maybe a good person, good IT person can explain why their teachers are there, and then that would be inspiring them. With that, if they go, it's not for the play games. Of course, once in a while, that's a different thing. But we may have to, even the teacher may not understand. The Guru Hamdruo who is at the temple, they may be seeing very differently. But we may have to educate them too, and what benefit they can get from this. And then, because in Nayaka Hamdruo's time, they did not have computers, they didn't have a chance to learn it. They also can learn it, and they also can teach them, encourage younger students to, future world is in their hands. So for them, how can they use it? So we have to give them, real good understanding, and that would be helping either to sasana, and also the, how to preserve their libraries and how to save their Dhamma in the computers. Likewise, if once 1 or 2 young monks learn this technology, that would be helping to others to, and the sasana, work in the sasana. I believe, that's a lot of ways to do this. there could be somehow this basic understanding should be given and inspiration should be given.
Thank you, Bhante. For the second part of the same question, we might not be able to have time. We may have maybe 10 minutes left. What methods, procedures, and solutions should the Buddhist Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni to follow? The Buddhist Sanga's role in the advancement and welfare of the world when we combine the technology and Buddhism. So when we say the technology and Buddhism, there are people who are in remote location, let's say north part of Canada, maybe 6 people, or the Buddhism. There are about 500 Buddhist organizations in Canada now throughout, spread out, and including in USA, large number. So still, people have to travel hundreds of miles. Now with Zoom technology or other technologies, how can we get this message across to them to meditate, like online Buddhist temple idea? We could get another day. In the remaining 10 minutes, you may set some standard or the procedures or the method. Thank you, Bhante.
You may, you are being an platform for this. Maybe we can invite, so we can set up with for 6 people in some far away distance. If they need, definitely invite monks, like someone, who are connected to us now, and to, talk to those people and maybe to do the vandana, or for them to do the, listen to Dhamma or the guided meditation. So maybe we can take turns and provide those services. That's why we monks we have to convince, share among us. So the monks who can particular days when they are free or when they are willing to do, and who can share the time, maybe Nanda Hamdro or myself or the other Hamdro. So maybe we can provide that service to those communities who does not have monks or who does not have temples around them. That may be the solution for us. As a Dhammaduta, even for one person, we must be able to spend our time. Buddha did that during the time of the Buddha. He did that himself. So why not us? So therefore, I believe we all can share some time for the benefit of those people who really need some solace, especially at this kind of time. For example, now due to this COVID, we were wondering what can we do for our community? Now they used to go to temple whenever they thought of. Now everybody is confined to their homes with their children. They need some kind of, way to engage in their spiritual path. So what did we thought? Then we inform our community that we will have the evening puja every day. Whoever possible, please join with us. With that invitation, we did that, using Facebook or YouTube. So people are very happy about it. I think that happiness, we can see how happy they were, how joyful they were. I believe if we can provide this service to extension to those communities who does not have monks or temples nearby, that would be a great, service that you and we all can do.
Thank you, Bhante.
Regarding that thing, I have an experience. I was doing Dhamma schools around the country, like, in New York to Connecticut to Boston for a long time. One I did last was in Connecticut. Now there are 2 monks who is doing their activities, so therefore I let them do it. I'm not going there anymore. But during that time, the parents, they are good, group of parents. We had what do you call this, activities in, I think in school Panama, there's a temple, oldest Sinhala village in that area, Panama. There's just adjacent to the temple, there's a school. With the support of this monk, group of people, they established a computer lab in that school. And what did this Dhamma school children were? They were, during the summertime, they go there and they start teaching. maybe 1 month they stayed in Sri Lanka, they will start teaching, English. And after they left, they had those parents, they supported them to have internet connection. And these children who came back here, and they time to time, they were communicating through the internet. So they had supporting them to speak English or speak Sinhala, both sides, benefiting both sides. They were conducting those services. I think very same thing, we still can do it, being here for these young monks or whoever is, receiving this English, need that you are doing English classes. With those monks, maybe we can set up some young children who need, here these children also need some kind of social services. So they can, we can find out who willing to do this. Finding those, students, maybe we can connect with them to talk to these monks in Sri Lanka as a service, as a community service. So that would be a good credential for them to provide a letter to a community service project for their, all this, middle school or young school, the high school people need some kind of fulfillment of community services. So if they do that through the temple, so they always can get that letter, that requirement which school is asking for. We signed off them, with the letter saying that he did this kind of service, and for that's the community service he has done. So there are many different ways. We may have to find out, really, organize it to do this.
Thank you, Bhante. Now,
Bhante, Venerable Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña Thera, we have to finish this interesting session today. We pay tribute to Venerable Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta Theri and Venerable Bhikkhu Heenbunne Kondañña Thera for spending this time with us. It was a very enlightening discussion that we had today, and it also generated some conversations. We apologize for the fact that we didn't have enough time for that discussion, so we trust that there'll be time to bring that conversation about on this very important topic, where the world really needs to see some change in terms of the 2,000 years of male domination that we've had, into creating, how do we create an authentic partnership culture between the male and the female to create a better, more balanced world. So once again, we like to say thank you for everybody who participated here. Please feel free to check out the Buddhist Embassy website. There's a Facebook page too, and also to contribute in any way you would like by writing to the Facebook page. So once again, Thiruvan Saranai, we wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thiruvan Saranai හැම දිනාටම. Thiruvan Saranai.